This is a Little Empire podcast. Visit us at littleempirepodcast.com and on Twitter at Little Empire Pod.
You gonna play that dastardly intro again?
Ow! This movie's still fine.
Zacole, pasta.
One of them dies, that guy's screw. One of them's a hottie, his name is Jay. One of them looks like Johnny Depp, and his name is Johnny Depp.
Classic maximum doses.
You forget that films are supposed to have a point.
I can feel already that this one is going to be dicey, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the worst idea of all time, episode 37. I've been reliably informed by my compatriot, my brother in arms, Guy Montgomery, across the ditch, across the Tasman. How are you?
That's right. I'm great, thanks. I've been sent over to Australia to research the Australian way of life. And certainly I consider this screening of Where Are Your Friends at 8 a.m. on a bright Sydney morning to be a huge roadblock in the way of my research. But what must be done, Tim. And as always, I'm never surprised by this development. It's a horrible way to wake up watching this movie. It is a horrible, horrible way to start your day.
Before we get into that, what findings have you made about the Australian people and that fair land, the lucky country?
Oh, look, I'll tell you what, you don't need to pack as many sweatshirts as you think. Although when wearing a sweatshirt here, it's easy to see why it would be called as such on account of the increased humidity and just generally warmer climate. Just a sort of pervading sense of dampness at every turn here in Australia. I mean, there are wet people, Tim, almost amphibious.
Are you talking about from perspiration or just general kind of water everywhere?
Initially, it started from perspiration, but I mean, a lot of the people I'm talking to appear to have gills.
Okay. Wow, so they're quick adapters, aren't they? They're a very resourceful people. We know that about them.
Yeah, I mean it's an arid and hellish sort of landscape, especially once you start trekking inwards. So I don't know if you'd call them quick adapters.
People like Mel Gibson don't get forged in the lush rainforests of the Amazon. It's too delicate and protective an environment. He is a sword forged in the red hot Australian radioactivity of the outback.
Yeah, that Mel Gibson is he is a card, isn't he?
He could only have come forward from he is a Darwinian product sent to us from Satan himself. Satan said, I'm going to create a small patch of my own hellscape upon this plane of the earth, and I will populate it with the most poisonous and horrifying looking creatures. There will be armored amphibians, twice the size of a human, with sharp, gnashing teeth.
Wow.
Eventually, when you develop technology, you will turn them into handbags and wallets, but for now, they will be terrifying. I will have tiny, 8-legged, 8-eyed critters that can kill you with a single bite. I will have large worms which slither across the arid sand, ready to bite you.
Do you think that's how snakes describe themselves?
I think that's how Satan described them when he put them on Earth. The serpent slithering on its belly. He didn't
call it a snake to begin with. He called it a large worm. He made worms first.
Worms have been around since the start. We started with worms, then we got to snakes. And then eventually, from snakes, we got to Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson had to fight his way out. We've lost so many.
How do you make a worm and then look at it and be like, oh, this needs to be bigger? And also with teeth. Oh, that's
a reaction I would probably have. If I made a worm, I'd be like, I get the concept. I get where we're going with this, but I'm going to need to turn everything up a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. And certainly, in inland Sydney, or not inland, but in central Sydney, which is where I currently am, Sydney, of course, a coastal town. I haven't come across many, if any, a few spiders certainly, but no snakes. I saw bats flying around when I was in Brisbane. I've never seen bats flying around in public before.
They're quite cool because they fly in formation, huh? They go over here.
They're actually
freaky.
quite cute. Some of them are very cute, and then others have horrible faces that look like they've been smashed by a shovel.
Have you seen any bats that have connected the two wires on a power line, sadly, and fried themselves? Because I used to encounter that a little bit when I lived in Sydney.
No, I haven't. I haven't been looking out for it. I didn't know that was a common trait amongst the bats.
Sometimes they're on one wire, and then if they kind of hang too low and they connect to another wire, I think they kind of short-circuit themselves or something.
I can believe that.
And not short-circuit in the fun movie sense where you get electrocuted and then come to life and get a conscience and try to convince everyone that you no longer want to be part of the war machine, but in a more electrical engineering sense where you have a lot of high voltage and high amps thrown through your body.
Yeah, electrocuted.
How was the movie for you, Guy?
Look, it wasn't good, Tim. And before we get into that, just because of what you were saying earlier, I've wound up Googling peak Mel Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to imagine when the Lethal Weapon movies came out and, you know, how popular he was as a figure, how sort of damning his fall from grace would... I mean, he had the full-on hair. He had sort of... He was a real dish, wasn't he?
Oh, incredibly handsome man. The Australians have good genes, I think, for good-lookingness.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you there. The base level of attractiveness here in Australia is too high. Now, to your questions about the movie, Tim, I'm just waiting week after week for Zac Efron to bust out a decent-sounding track. I mean, it is, honestly...
It killed you, didn't it? We were chatting a little bit online while we were watching, so we felt a little bit closer, and that just, again, it slayed you. Another one this week where he hasn't nailed it.
The most fruitless attempt. I mean, I don't understand. And you just can't. You can't build a movie. You can't have a movie which is purportedly building towards this climactic scene where he arrives as a DJ and then just have him pretty much fart into a microphone.
Yeah,
it's disrespectful to any aspiring musicians who wanted to watch the movie to see a glimpse of their life on screen. It's disrespectful to any audience members who wanted to just watch a movie, have an enjoyable romp. I believe this was released in the summer, so sort of a last fling before the end of summer. It's just, I don't know. You know, you go through the motion some weeks where you empathize with the filmmakers and everything that they were trying to do, and then other weeks you're just so deeply frustrated. And it's hard to make anything good, really, isn't it?
I think I actually know what you mean. What you've said is quite a broad and confusing statement there, but I feel like I get the spirit of it. Because I said to you on the chat while we were watching that I feel like I can see through the Matrix code a bit this morning while I was watching it. And that I'm seeing all the bits. I'm not seeing a cohesive whole. I'm able to just see little bits for little mouths. But they don't add up to anything. So I'm just seeing, it's like, okay, cool. I can see a shot that got orchestrated and there's color grading on top of it, and we hired some extras and they're being instructed to dance by the second AD because Max Joseph took the Arvo off that day, and we've got some EDM music that's layered on top of that. But I'm not seeing it as a scene. I'm seeing it as just distinct separate parts. And I can't... it's not how a movie is supposed to work when you watch it. And I guess it's that kind of deconstruction which is blindingly obvious as it may be, to the point where it might be stupid to point it out aloud. On the 37th watch, you start to not be able to escape that. You can no longer escape into the film in the way that you want to. It's annoying. It's frustrating because it would, we had a run right at the start of being able to enjoy this as a film that faded. It's kind of come back and forward some weeks. And I think truly, Guy, we are in free fall from here on in for the rest of the season. It's not looking good for me.
Look, I think I'm looking at what lies ahead, Tim, and immediately it's a treacherous and difficult path to walk, a difficult path to climb. But I firmly believe that, say, 7-8 weeks from now, when the sweet ticker tape parade of the finish line is in sight, I can only imagine the rocket they'll put up our asses. As it stands, I'm both frustrated by the film and feel badly for those who were involved.
Explain.
Frustrated by the film.
Mm-hmm.
Just, keep hanging out with the same film every week. It's frustrating.
Yep. Partial credit.
And feel badly for those involved. Just like, no one wanted it to come out like this, did they?
Well, that's a good question, isn't it? Let's have a
This
chat
isn't
about that, guy.
exactly or necessarily the movie they set out to make.
Or is it? Is this the exact vision that Max Joseph had? And maybe he still thinks it's good, or maybe he's been able to sort of accept criticism from those around him and go, maybe my vision, which I did enact perfectly in retrospect, wasn't that great.
Well,
or is it an accidental shitter?
Well, if it is exactly what he intended to make, then all power to him. And because at the end of the day, that's all you can ask of yourself. You have a vision, you execute it to the best of your abilities, whether or not it's received well. At least
I don't know if people
that
out there realize, but Maximum Joseph is probably the greatest visionary of our time. And guess what? Even Leonardo da Vinci had to take a shit once or twice a day, or however often he shit. But it's probably quite not that much. But you take my point. Even Leonardo da Vinci was a man who had to get on the bog, spread them cheeks, and lay a loaf down multiple times a week.
That goes beyond Da Vinci. That's all of your favourite Renaissance artists. I mean,
Rembrandt.
I don't know what their diet. Rembrandt wasn't Renaissance, was he?
I don't know. You tell me.
He strikes me as an impressionist, but I mean, I don't know a hell of a lot about art. All I'm trying to tell you, all these people on set,
the real shortcut to remembering the significant Renaissance painters is just go through the turtles. Raphael, Donatello, Leonardo.
That's a great trick, Tim. Donatello, Raphael, Leonardo, and the other guy, Michelangelo.
Great team, unstoppable force. And I'm talking about the painters, not the turtles.
But you think that Maximum Joseph is on that level, but we don't
Maximum
recognize
Joseph
it.
is the greatest visionary of our time. I mean, Catfish, is it a show that I've watched? No. Am I 100% au fait with the format of it? Also, no. But I get a sense that it is a very culturally important show. It is very of our time. I increasingly get the sense if they're still making it that probably it's gone on a bit long. But the idea of bringing social media into the TV realm using quite shit cameras and just ploughing ahead, there's something to that, There's something to that screams spark of genius to me.
I'm having real trouble following your train of thought. I mean, you are oscillating wildly all over the page here. So you have nothing but respect for Maximum Joseph? Or you just don't necessarily respect him, but you're willing to acknowledge that he is a visionary?
We need to separate out the art from the artist. And in this particular product, the art, questionable at best, terrible at most honest. But the artist himself, Maximum Joseph, the visionary, who managed to parlay basically what should have been a web series into a TV show for MTV, and then parlay that into a film career where he got to work with Zac Efron, that takes the true inner workings of a genius.
Is that not just... That's not necessarily artistic merit, that's just networking.
Well, what is being an artist in the film realm if not networking? That
is so depressingly probably true. Oh, man.
My point is...
I keep rubbing my eyes, Tim. You can't see me, but I'm rubbing my eyes a lot. And it's sort of exhausted...
What time did you wake up and start hitting the old dusty trail?
Woke up 7:59. Started watching Where Are Your Friends 8 a.m.
Just as we had planned. I actually was terrified because I sent you a message saying could we start a little earlier, because I've literally got to rush to the airport and might miss a flight as a result of doing this record, which would cause me to miss a wedding, which I don't think they'd be too happy about. But at any rate, I sent you a message, and the thought did occur to me. I wonder if we've done that thing again, where you got up at 6 a.m. to watch the film, and thought that we were recording at 8. So I'm really glad to hear that you managed to get a little bit of kip, and wake up at the kind of reasonable hour of 8. I know that you're on the comedy road at the moment. You're on the trail, but that's not too bad. I think 8's okay. I think 8's perfectly reasonable. You're an early riser, Montgomery. You're used to it.
I put it to you, Tim. Did you have any quibbles with the film this week? Any plot points? Any questions left unanswered? Stones left unturned?
Yeah.
That really got under your skin.
A glaring omission for me is the lack of Clarissa, who is a character that is introduced in dialogue only during a conversation between James Reid from The Feelers and Somali, mother to sweet Kevin, sweet baby Kevin. So what's happened there is the film has put quite a spotlight on the fact that we're all going to go to Clarissa's party. You can feel it coming. When Somali brings up the fact that her and James Reid are supposed to head off to go to that party, to Clarissa's party, and James Reid from The Feelers has forgotten who Clarissa is. And then we get a little treat, which is a bit of backstory on Clarissa. She went to Stanford with Somali for the brief time that Somali was there. And so we're going to go to a Stanford party, and it's great. It's a good mood in the film, because at the time when that gets brought up, we're in some sort of Italian, maybe, restaurant. No, he's telling a story about being in Italy, but he's in just a normal restaurant. Maybe it's a Hooters, not sure. But we're in there, and we're having a pretty boring time as James Reid from The Feelers lets loose another terrible anecdote.
The same dead dog of an anecdote he does week after week. Oh my God.
It's a bad story.
He's sort of the classic guy. You go on a first date with him, he's got a bit of disposable income, he has what appears to be a glamorous and interesting lifestyle, and within 2 dates you're like, I cannot believe I'm still seeing this clown. All he talks about is just like his life touring as a DJ. He goes to cities, has no idea how to experience them, and comes back just with the most stock anecdotes.
Those guys are out there, right? They exist in our world all the time.
Oh,
people who have this thin veneer of beauty and interest, and then you get into it and you're like, there is just a hole where a human should be. And it's that transferable skills thing. It's like, just because you're an international touring DJ doesn't mean you're good at convos.
Absolutely not.
We assume they are.
We assume the best of people. I think we give good-looking people an unearned pass, whereby it's like, assume that you're interesting until proven otherwise. And often it doesn't take very long. We have a similar thing. Everyone gets so up in arms when an athlete says something stupid. And you're like, this person has literally spent 50 hours a week for every week of their adult life practicing throwing a ball or kicking a ball. Like, what do you expect to happen when they open their mouth?
Yeah, it's not all going to be well-articulated philosophy or, diamond-pointed social commentary, is it? But
I think, and as told by this, I mean, who goes to Rome and comes back with the anecdote, there are a lot of fountains in Rome, as though there's
this fucking guy.
There's any form of insight or interest in that. I can Google Rome, Google image search it, and come away with the same level of anecdote as James Reid actually managed to get by going to Rome.
So listen, here's my here's where we're going with this. We're in there, we're hearing that terrible anecdote, and I'm all ready as a film audience member to grab my coat and head along to the new party as well, because I want to get the hell out of there. I'm sick of the story. And we do go, but James Reid from The Feelers doesn't go. But at no stage in proceedings, in spite of all the hate crimes and the violence, the talk of cheese, and the douchey, he says that he's into music. He likes music big time. We don't meet Clarissa, bro. And I think it might even be her party.
It is her party. I mean, Somali makes a real point at the dinner about it being Clarissa's party, and James Reid's met Clarissa, and it's, there's a real sense of purpose that they're going there to see Clarissa.
They've met 3 times. We know this. The film goes to all the trouble of telling us that they've met several times before.
So, James Reid either goes to watch C-SPAN, as he says he will, or goes and has sex with some floozy, as is his ongoing want.
Spicy.
Zacole arrives at Clarissa's party, having never met her. I mean, I guess you can see why Somely maybe held off on the introduction. He's a bit of a wild card.
Well, that's true.
His first interaction with anyone who's not Somely at the party is literally committing a hate crime.
Yeah. Imagine this. I mean,
maybe that's why.
Bentley, James Reid from the Feelers has managed to meet Clarissa 3 times. Can you imagine the shit that Zacole's going to be pulling on his 3rd visit? Like, if that's his entry, what does he work up to? I think the second one we can probably assume is arson. Just burning the motherfucker down. And then the third one, I guess, is, and I sort of hate to say it out loud. I know this is topical, and I sincerely hope it isn't when the episode comes out, but maybe a terrorist attack is the only place you go to from
Well, that's what I was going to say, Tim, is if your energy is that high when you enter, I mean, if your first action is to punch someone in the face under the misguided premise that they have they identify differently on the sexuality spectrum than you do.
I mean, you leave yourself...
Well, yeah, I mean, and more than that, you leave very little wriggle room for an even grander entrance the next time.
Yeah, you got to go up every time. That's certainly my approach at a party. However it goes down, I go in with an open mind on the first time I'm at someone's house. But whatever shape that first interaction takes, I know that I have to build on it in subsequent visits. So if I come in and I have a lovely time and get to know a couple of new faces, meet some new friends, and that's that, then I'll come in the second time to a party that's being hosted at the same location, be even friendlier, meet a few more people than I did before, and really tear it up on the dance floor. However, conversely, if I come into a party and I have a minor scuffle or disagreement with someone, you can rest assured that at the next little shindig at this particular venue, I'm going to be coming in pretty weapons hot.
And you're a scrapper too. You're rough and ready. And I think a lot of people don't realize that about you. Often when you first meet someone, you're very polite. You ask a lot of questions. You're a very naturally talented conversationalist and a joy to be around, actually.
That's really sweet, Guy. Thank you for saying that.
Just beneath that sort of friendly and familiar veneer lurks a terrifying man who will stop at nothing for a scrap of cheese, maybe, the dregs of someone's beer.
Just like a man may be the
on his haunches. Certainly, you do share similarities with both rats and kings.
I guess that I never really thought of it that way. That's what makes Brady Brady, isn't it? He is both parts of that equation. He's not just like the king rat. He is a king and a rat. He is the rat king.
He identifies as both.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, listen, Guy.
I refuse.
No.
La 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 la.
Do you have a shining light?
La 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 la.
For this 37th.
Sorry, la la la. Are you?
Come on, mate.
La.
Guy.
La.
Hey.
Are you trying to talk to me?
Yeah.
Look, I know this is sort of a slightly different estimation of what a shining light is, insofar as it's something I enjoyed speculating about, as opposed that was triggered by an event in the movie, but it's not a highlight from the movie itself.
Oh, Guy, you can't see this, but I took the rule book and I threw it in the bin in the studio, so you just go hog wild. That's
such a relief, because you're usually championing, lauding that bloody rule book right over my head. So when Zacole, in the throes of DJing his first ever sort of public appearance, as far as I can tell, at a pool party, at a looking pool party at James Reid's house, he takes it upon himself, as we've explained multiple times before, he takes it upon himself to explain sort of the magic and the construct behind DJing. No one requested this, and certainly, as far as I can tell, no one's really listening, but through some clever filmmaking techniques, namely like interspliced footage of old cartoon footage and just sort of archival odds and ends, it creates the illusion of momentum to his explanation of DJing. But the reality is this isn't what's happening at the actual looking pool party, is it? He's just talking.
Yes,
and at one point
okay, I see what you're saying. It's something that we get to see as a film audience, but the people in the universe of the film, they're just seeing a man sort of ranting almost about BPM and
it is ranting because as the way the story's told, we trust that as Zacole explains how DJing works in his head, all of the visual accompaniment that we see as a film audience is playing out. But for the people who he's actually explaining it to at the Looking Pool party, it's just like it is the ramblings of a madman. And at one point he says you need the broad strokes of 9th grade biology, which is just patently untrue. At no point does he apply the broad strokes of 9th grade biology. And also I feel like that's unfair to aspiring DJs who maybe aren't familiar with anything beyond 8th grade biology. That's not going to hinder you. That's not going to hold you back. You can DJ without that.
Mm-hmm.
But he sort of just explains the whole thing, and it eventually reaches its zenith. But every time, and especially this week, when he stops explaining it, I just would love a visual acknowledgement of the social faux pas that he's made and misunderstanding his job as a DJ to just play banging hot tracks. And his interpretation, of course, being to explain to everyone what he's about to do as he's doing it, and just to clear the whole party. So that scene just finishes with Zacole standing behind the decks. There's no one to be seen. Everyone's cleared out. It's a different movie, and I think a more challenging journey for our hero, Zac Efron, to then become a successful DJ. Because it's a huge, not just
That's
sort of
true.
mental blow, but also in the world of his aspirations. That's a crushing blow in terms of he's not going to get booked for any more Looking Pool parties.
No.
He's probably sullied his relationship with his mentor, James Reid from the Feelers.
Yeah. It's that would be such a great moment though, and I think add a lot of much needed comedy to this film. It is one of those moments where he's gotten so far into his own head that while we are being exposed to the inner workings of this sort of, I don't know, drug-addled brain with all the TV cuts in there, and then you pull out and everyone is just bailed on him. Like, that's a funny moment. That's good comedy.
It is funny, and also like it's another challenge. The movie's not challenging enough for him. Everything comes so easily.
Yeah, his friend dies, and not even that slows him down.
His friend dies just
This is the weird thing
just
is
to feel
right,
something.
Here's the strange thing about We Are Your Friends. The clue is in the title. It sets itself up to be a movie about mates and friends, kinship. But that's not what kinship is. Kinship's family, isn't it? But what it actually is just about one man's journey to become a DJ by himself, and his friends don't matter at all. Because his best friend dies during the course of the film as a direct result of actions that our protagonist has taken. And it's that, like, if that occurs in the film, that should probably be the main point of the film. But it's not in this. It is a mere sideshow, a mere 25-cent sideshow at the circus that is Zacole the Crying DJ and his stupidly low gradient of a mountain that he has to climb. It's not even a mountain. It's barely a hill. It's a driveway. This movie is a driveway for our protagonist.
He walks down a flat, tar-sealed driveway, comes across a dead body halfway down,
Goes, I know that dude.
Yeah, and then just keeps walking. And then he arrives at the house that he wanted to get to the whole time, and that's the movie. And do you know who's inside the house?
Who?
One of his best mates' ex-girlfriends who he's always wanted to bone. And she's totally keen on boning him. That's your fucking movie.
I wonder if that's how they pitched it in for the studio execs to get the money to get Zac Efron.
I like to think that there was a little more panache, but who's to say?
We'll never know. That is the reality of it. Oh boy. 37 watches. What are we doing? What do you like, Guy Montgomery? What are we up to, mate?
Mate.
It's just, every now and then you gotta take a step back and ask the question, don't you?
Oh, look, you really do. I last night as I was going to bed was explaining to one of the people with whom I'm staying why I had to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning. And they just literally refused. They just thought we'd been like sitting around and joking for a few hours, having a beer. And then when I was like, this is what I'm doing in the morning, they just flatly refused to believe it.
Yeah.
Just like, absolutely not. That's not, this is a put on. And I was like, it's really not, like, I'm going to do it. And he's like, nah. Just not even amused, just literal sort of disdain for the fact I would brazenly make up such a ludicrous lie.
Not taking that on as information that needs to be anywhere near my brain. Thank you very much.
And I guess that reaction is correct.
Well, it is. But it's, I probably wouldn't believe you. If I met you recently, and you're a pretty funny dude, you know, you make shit up on the fly, you spin a good yarn. And if you told me,
I love to laugh, Tim.
You sure do. I know this about you. And if I met you one night at a bar and got to chatting to you, and then you're like, right, well, I better head off because I've got to get up in the morning to watch We Are Your Friends for the 37th time with my mate who's in New Zealand, I'd be like, oh, all right, mate. Yep, good one. You can just leave. You don't have to make something up. It's quite fine. You can just go when you want to go.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much exactly what happened, which is funny when you present it back to me. I can enjoy that.
How many more you got in you, guy? That's the real question.
Well, it's got to be 15, doesn't it?
Does it? It does.
It's got to be 15.
You got to do another 15, as I've always said.
Man, I've said it before. I'll say it again. We are limping to the finish line. Did you have a shining light this week, Tim?
It was literally the shining lights when they're on the cliff, Somali and Zacole The Crying DJ. When just after he's committed the hate crimes, and there's that beautiful, I think it's called moire effect of the city lights behind them. Looks like they've used a lens with a very low f-stop number, shallow depth of field, lets a lot of light in, creates a beautiful, great, beautiful little piece of cinematography. I'm so tired and hungry, and I also haven't had a coffee, which is really busting my balls.
Oh man. Why would you? Why would you watch this movie with any of the trimmings?
Yeah, it's a more pure experience. It's like when people fast. They want to cleanse themselves, get rid of everything. There's no additional stimulus in me right now except for Zac Efron and his fuckboys just doing it again. We'll go another one. We'll watch it again. We'll go again. Play it again, Sam. You know? 37 times. Unbelievable. Who did I like this week? Let me do a rundown. Was it Johnny Depp? No, it wasn't.
Never.
Was it Jarhead? Certainly not. But we take one sideways step from Jarhead and we get Jardad. And he is a man who captured me this week. He's a man of few words. In fact, I think he might say 3 or 4 in the whole film. We have assumed, and I fully stand by this assumption, that he's got a military background. In fact, I think, if memory serves, we may have suggested that he was in Desert Storm, which I think would make him a little bit older than he first appears. But the dude keeps in good nick. He runs.
Yeah, he does.
Not with Zac Efron. He runs by himself. Because he's a lone wolf. He's a solo man.
Yeah, that's your take?
That's my hot take on Jardad. I just was watching him as all. He really captured me this week. And it's like what happens with all of these projects, you know. Sex and the City was a great one. You see someone, they catch your eye, and you start delving into what makes them them. What was Jardad's upbringing? What was his relationship to his father like? These are the questions I would love to answer. Well,
these are questions you can answer. I mean, do we all become our parents? Do you think Jardad's relationship with his father is the model upon which he built his relationship with Jarhead?
What other model does one have apart from the relationship they've first been exposed to? There's no other relationship model really that I've seen up close apart from the one that I've got with my dad, you know?
Well, it must be very interesting then for Jardad in that he would have grown up completely unable to understand a word that was being spoken by his father. And in procreating with Jar Mum, he would have had to come to terms with and make his peace with the fact that one day his son, Jahed Jr., would be unable to understand a word that he said.
That's pretty sad. So when Jahed is talking to Jardad about the fact that he and Zacole have started working in real estate, and I think the next line that's very hard to hear might be he's suggesting to his father to put some money into this real whiz-bang industry that they've fallen into. What do you think his expectations are on that? Does he just keep trying to start conversations with Jardad because everyone, obviously wants to have a connection with their father? And he knows in his heart of hearts that they can't talk because, like in Peanuts, all that he will get back is warble, just warble noise.
Can they communicate through the written word? Or do you think everything he writes just comes out as warble as well?
Yeah, I think so too.
The only word he can write is warble.
Yeah. Well, it's the only... No, he can write words, but it's if Jahed sees them, all he sees is warble. Sort of like the Matrix code thing again,
Love the Matrix. Love the Matrix.
Looks at that cascading green code, and it's just a bunch of gobbledygook. But if you're a trained operator, you can see what's up. That movie's like 20 years old now. Oh, not quite.
We had to do religious education at my high school, and the teacher of that, who was the school chaplain, bloody loved the Matrix. He'd always be referring to it as this allegory for the Bible, and we'd all be like,
"That it was."
If we get to watch the Matrix, I don't care what you say, mate.
If I get to see that sweet bullet time, yeah. What a treat. What a treat for a strapping young group of lads. Or a group of young strapping lads. I like the idea, though, that the group itself is young and strapping, but the lads are not. Not 100% sure how that works.
No, I can't quite wrap my brain around that either. Yes?
I'm actually going to start investigating how far away an Uber could conceptually be, because I do have a flight that I need to get on, but we also have some business we need to attend to in this episode, and that is 5, 6, 7, 8. Getting sentimental with James Reid. Oh my God.
How far away is your Uber?
Oh, they're too expensive. It's just giving me a quote. There's no one paying that. God,
Surge prices.
Nah, it's not even... Oh, maybe it is. Yeah, it is Surge. Oh, boy.
Oh, dude. You got to call up... I can't remember. I think it's cheap cabs or convenience cabs. They do like a $40 or $50 flat rate from...
they have burned me in the past. And on an airport flight, no less. It was a few years ago now. Maybe they're better, but also maybe they don't exist because Uber does. At any rate...
Yeah.
We've got a MacBook Pro box, everybody. We're trying to figure out what's in it. You know the game. You know how it's played. We've done this a time or two before. So I'm gonna.
I feel like you're simultaneously thinking of what's in the box and also dealing with your Uber situation.
No, the Uber thing can wait. This requires my full attention. There's a scent. There's an aroma arriving from the box this week. And
so
I think
you smell it before you see it.
You do, and it's
through
cinnamon.
the box, through the plastic bag.
Yeah.
There's an awareness.
It's a cinnamon smell. And there's a little bit of smoke coming out.
Oh, God.
And I think we all know where this is going. Zacole, the crying DJ, opens the box, and there is indeed a MacBook in there, or what looks to be a MacBook, but it's actually in the shape of a MacBook and is made of incense sticks entirely. Why does he have it? Because James Reid from The Feelers has converted to Catholicism recently, but in a big way.
Oh.
Which isn't... You don't hear a lot about Catholicism as a religion where people convert in later in life, do you? You hear a bit about Judaism, with regard to that? Because you got to marry in.
Some lapsed Catholics, I think, turn back to it because if you absolve yourself on your deathbed, I think you're all good.
Yeah,
but certainly, as a religion, say a secular person turning to Catholicism midlife, especially, in this political climate.
Oh yeah, forget about it.
Virtually unheard of. But here we have James Reid from the Feelers, flirting with the idea of joining the Catholic Church. And I guess sort of trying to bring some people along for the ride with him. Is that what you're telling me?
I think it's his own personal journey, but he wants to bring Zacole The Crying DJ with him because he's a very special person to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you think that you have the truth, the way, and the light, you don't want to take just anyone on that journey with you, but you do want to take your loved ones. And in his case, is that Somali? That's where he parks his penis. He cares deeply for Zacole The Crying DJ, and that's why he wants to take him on the path to spiritual enlightenment. So he gets him a whole MacBook Pro shape made of incense, because as we all know, in those beautiful Catholic rituals, they bloody love an incense stick.
It seems pretty insulting to try and bring I know that their relationship, James Reid from the Feelers and Somali's relationship, is fraught with tension and sort of trust issues, but it does seem specifically very mean-spirited to try and convert your friend in front of your partner. Do you know what I mean?
Look, I don't want to labour this too much. That's just the kind of man that James Reid from the Feelers is. And to be honest, Guy, that's probably all I'm going to have time for. So what I would like to do now is remind everyone that both Guy and I will be at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival and love to see your faces there.
Oh my God, yes.
You can, for my dates, go to timbat, that's with 2 T's, .co.nz. For Guy, go to his website, which is GuyMontComedy.com.
I did.
We really should have had this sus by now, but we're trying to figure out a date and a venue to do a very shambolic live worst idea. That'll be fun. It
looks like, for those of you who are curious, it's going to be on the weekend of the 9th of April. Sunday the 9th of April. I would pencil into your diary.
Keep your ears to the ground. Join the Facebook group, please. We need everyone on there for some reason. I've just made that an imperative now. But we do update all the live stuff on there, or you could follow either one of us on Twitter and you'll see it. We'll let you know. We'll get you the good oil, but you got to follow the socials. Probably the worst idea Facebook page is the best idea. I've really got to go. I think I'm going to miss this flight. Guy, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. I can't wait to see you.
Isn't the flight in 45 minutes?
I'll catch you later, buddy.
Yeah, get out of here, dude.
Ow!
This movie's still fine.
Zacole pasta.
One of them dies, that goes screw. One of them's a hothead, his name is Jay. One of them looks like Johnny Depp, and his name is Johnny Depp.
Classic Maximum Joseph.
You forget that films are supposed to have a point.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. If you're thirsty for another, why not try Boners of the Heart?
I'm not afraid to fucking gouge your eyes out, bitch.
Fuck you. Do you know what? Gouge my eyes out, because do you know what my strongest sense is? My ears. And I honestly believe that. I can hear you before I see you.
I'd bite your earlobes off.
You can't bite my earlobes out.
You can't bite my...
Even if you took my lobe, I've still got my drum. I'm hearing you. I'm in pain, but I'm hearing you. Honestly,
I would kick you in the... I'd fucking kick you in the crotch.
Kick me in the crotch.
I'd punch you so hard in the stomach.
Oh my God, my stomach
no,
can
on the
take
face.
it.
Sorry. In the face.
My stomach can take it.
I will break your nose.
Break it.